Somewhere right now, someone is talking about you. You don't know who, you don't know what they're saying, but you feel it. That small itch at the back of your mind. The sense that your name just crossed a room you weren't standing in. And here's the part nobody tells you. They're right. Someone is talking about you. Someone is almost always talking about you. But the truth is far stranger than paranoia, because that voice in the other room isn't a glitch in the human condition. It's the reason you exist at all. Let me explain. You like to think of yourself as an individual, a private person, a sealed box of thoughts that only opens when you choose, but you are not a sealed box. You are a rumor that learned to walk. Everything other people believe about you was assembled without your permission. Your reputation was built in rooms you never entered by people repeating stories they only half understood, and you have almost no control over any of it. Feels unfair, doesn't it? It gets worse. Like because you do the exact same thing to everyone you know. Think about the last conversation you had with a friend. Really think. How much of it was ideas? How much of it was information you actually needed? And how much of it was just, other people? Who did what? Who said what? Who is dating whom? Who is falling apart? Who is not as impressive as they pretend to be? If you're honest, most of it, almost all of it, you're not a bad person for this. You are a completely normal human being doing the single most human thing there is. The psychologist Robin Dunbar spent years studying what people actually talk about when they talk, not what they claim to talk about, what they really do. And he found that roughly 2/3 of all human conversation is about other people. Who's up? Who's down? Who broke the rules? Who got away with it? 2/3. You are surrounded by philosophers of the trivial, and Dunbar's explanation is the part that should stop you cold. He argues that human language itself may have evolved for exactly this, not for poetry, not for planning the hunt, but for gossip. Here's the logic. Look at your closest relatives. Monkeys and apes hold their social groups together by grooming each other, picking through fur, removing dirt. It calms them. It builds trust. It says, without words, you matter to me. But grooming has a fatal limit. You can only groom one friend at a time. Sit there, hands in the fur, one-on-one. If your group grows too large, you physically cannot maintain all those bonds. There aren't enough hours in the day. So how did human ancestors build groups of dozens, then hundreds? Groups far too large to hold together one strand of hair at a time? Dunbar's answer is beautiful and a little insulting. We replaced grooming with talking. Words became the new fingers, and gossip became the new fur. Think about what a rumor actually does. It lets you tend to a relationship without touching it. It lets you signal loyalty, share warnings, and bond with one person over the story of a third. You can even groom several people at once, at dinner, over drinks, in a group chat that never sleeps. Language, in this view, is not the crown of human reason. It's a more efficient way to pick invisible fleas off each other. So the next time you catch yourself whispering about someone, don't feel guilty. Feel ancient. You're performing a ritual older than farming, older than cities, older than every word you know. Now, let's talk about why it works so well on you. Your brain treats social information the way it treats food and danger, as a priority, because for almost all of human history it was. Picture your ancestor living in a small band. Maybe 50 people, maybe 150, which, not coincidentally, is roughly the number of stable relationships Dunbar found the human brain is wired to handle. That figure even has a name now. Dunbar's number. In that world, your survival did not depend on being strong. It depended on being known, and known well. Who could you trust? Who shared food when times were hard? Who took more than their share? Who slept with whose partner and might start a feud that gets people killed? You could not learn all of this from your own experience. There wasn't time. You would be dead before you personally tested whether that man was violent. So you learned it the only way that scaled. You listened. You collected stories. You built a map of everyone around you out of secondhand whispers. And that map kept you alive. Gossip was not a vice. Gossip was your intelligence agency. The evolutionary psychologist Frank McAndrew has spent much of his career studying this. His argument is blunt. The people who were fascinated by the private lives of others had a real survival advantage. They knew who to ally with, who to avoid, who was rising and who was about to fall. The ones who didn't care? Who found gossip beneath them? They walked into ambushes with a smile. So evolution did something clever. It made social information feel delicious. It made your brain light up at the phrase, okay, don't tell anyone, but you are not weak for leaning in. You are the descendant of every ancestor who leaned in and lived. And notice something about what you actually store. You don't just remember that someone was helpful once, you remember patterns. You build a little file on every person you know, updated with each new story, each new whisper. He's generous but flaky. She's harsh but honest. Trust him with money, never with a secret. The social psychologist Nicholas Emler has argued that this is what reputation really is, not a label, a running account, a ledger the whole group keeps together, one conversation at a time. And here is the strange part. You spend a huge amount of energy managing your own entry in that ledger. Think about how much of your behavior is really an argument about your reputation. The favors you do loudly, the corrections you rush to make, the way you tell your side of the story before anyone else can tell theirs. You are not just living your life. You are constantly editing the file other people keep on you, and you can never read it. You can only guess at what it says and hope. Now, here's a question worth sitting with. If gossip is this powerful, if it can lift you up or bury you, then wouldn't it pay to lie? To spread flattering stories about yourself and vicious ones about your rivals? Sometimes, yes, and people do. But the system has a defense, and it's elegant. Because gossip is a network, not a broadcast. A story that doesn't match reality tends to collide with other stories. The liar gets caught in his own contradictions. And once you are known as someone whose words can't be trusted, you lose the one thing the whole game runs on, credibility. In a world held together by talk, being caught in a lie is one of the most expensive things that can happen to you. The gossip network doesn't just track what you did, it tracks whether your version can be believed. And it remembers. And now the twist you didn't see coming. You probably think of gossip as cruel, as petty, as the things small people do, whispered attacks, reputations torn apart for sport. But when researchers actually recorded what people say all day, they found something that ruins the whole stereotype. The psychologist Robbins ran a study where she quietly captured people's everyday conversations, not what they thought they said, what actually came out of their mouths. I did, Kara, and she found that people gossip on average, like about 52 minutes a day. Sit with that. Nearly an hour every single day spent discussing people who aren't in the room. But here's the part that matters. The overwhelming majority of it was not nasty. It was neutral. Just information. She said this. He's moving there. They got the job. Only a small slice was negative. And an even smaller slice was praise. So the villain of gossip, the cackling schemer plotting your downfall, is mostly a myth. Most gossip is just the quiet, endless bookkeeping of who's who. You are not living inside a war of whispers. You are living inside a vast, informal record-keeping system. And it never stops running, and it is mostly, boringly, keeping track. Which sounds comforting until you realize what that record is for, because a reputation is not just a story. It's a leash and it's a fence. In a small group, gossip is how the group polices itself without a police force. There's no court, no boss, no written law. So how do you stop the strong from taking everything? How do you punish the cheater who is bigger than you? You talk. You tell everyone what he did, and the story spreads. And soon, he can't find a partner or an ally or a share of the next meal. He is not beaten. He is simply known. And being known in the wrong way is a slow death sentence in a world where you need each other to survive. This is the hidden genius of gossip. It let weak individuals gang up on powerful ones using nothing but words. It made cooperation possible in groups too big to watch everyone directly. Anthropologists have found this pattern in societies all over the world. The group keeps its bullies in check through talk, through mockery, through the constant threat that your name will turn against you. Gossip, in other words, may be one of the oldest tools of justice humans ever built. Long before we wrote down a single rule, we enforced them with our mouths. So that rumor you're so afraid of, it's the same mechanism that once kept tyrants small. The knife cuts both ways. It just depends on who's holding it and what you did. And this may have changed us, not just our habits, our bodies, our very nature. There's a theory called self-domestication The idea is that over thousands of generations, humans slowly tamed themselves. The aggressive, the arrogant, the ones who bullied and grabbed were quietly pushed out, talked about, excluded, sometimes worse, and who survived to pass on their genes. The cooperative, the agreeable, the ones who could read a room and stay on the group's good side, the ones who cared deeply what other people thought of them. In other words, we may have bred ourselves for popularity. Generation after generation, the anxious social animal outlived the fearless brute. And the tool that did the selecting, the invisible hand behind it all, was talk, reputation, gossip. If that's true, then the churning worry you feel about your standing isn't a personal defect. It's a signature. Proof that you descend from the ones who worried enough to fit in. The confident ones, the ones who truly didn't care, may simply not be your ancestors. Which brings us to secrets, because if gossip is the currency, then secrets are gold. Notice how a secret feels in your hands, heavy, alive, like almost too much to hold. There's a pressure to release it, to hand it to someone, to watch their eyes widen. Why should information have physical weight? Why should knowing a thing about someone feel like carrying it? Because a secret is power. It's a debt someone owes you, whether they know it or not. It's a card you can play, a bond you can offer, a gift you can give to buy your way closer to someone else. When you tell a friend a secret, you are not just sharing news. You are saying, I trust you with something dangerous. That is one of the strongest bonds our species knows how to make. And it's also why secrets almost never stay secret, because the same value that makes you want to guard a secret makes the next person want to spend it. It travels. It always travels. The only truly safe secret is the one you never spoke aloud, and even that one leaks through your face. Now let's bring this all the way home to you. To right now, because here is where your ancient brain runs face first into the modern world. For almost all of human history, your reputation lived in a small circle, a few dozen people, a few hundred at most. If a lie spread about you, you could fight it. You could show up, be seen. Let people watch you long enough to correct the story with your own behavior. Reputation was local, and reputation was slow, and most importantly, reputation could heal. Then you were handed a device that broke all three rules at once. Now your reputation can escape your circle in seconds. Now a story about you can reach 10,000 strangers who will never meet you, never watch you grow, never update their opinion. Now the whisper doesn't fade. It's saved, screenshotted, searchable forever. Your brain evolved for gossip that stayed in the village. You now live in a village of billions that never forgets and never sleeps. And it still feels the same. That's the cruel part. When a stranger online decides who you are, your body reacts as if it happened around the fire. The same flush of shame, the same dread, the same ancient alarm, screaming that your standing in the group is under attack, and that losing it means losing everything. Except it isn't the group anymore. It's an audience of ghosts. This is why a single bad comment can ruin your whole afternoon. It's not weakness. It's a Stone Age instinct built to track 50 faces, drowning in a flood it was never designed to survive. And consider what the machine has done to the ancient tools themselves. Gossip used to cost something. To spread a story, you had to be there. You had to say it with your own mouth to a face that could remember who said it. Your name was attached to your whisper. That kept the whole thing honest, at least a little. Now the whisper is free. And it is anonymous. A stranger can burn your reputation from the other side of the planet and pay no price at all. The old defense, the one where liars got caught in their own contradictions, breaks down when the liar has no face and no name to lose. We took a tool that evolved to enforce fairness, and we handed it to people with nothing to lose. The village elder who once used gossip to keep bullies in line has been replaced by 1,000 invisible voices who will never have to look you in the eye. And then there's the audience. In the old world, you gossiped to a handful of people you knew, about a handful of people you knew. The circle was closed, the judged, and the judges shared a life. If you tore someone down unfairly, you might have to sit next to them tomorrow. Now you can judge a stranger you'll never meet over a moment you never witnessed based on a story stripped of everything that made it human. No context, no history, no second chance. Just a verdict, delivered by people who will forget you by lunch and remembered by a machine that never will. Your ancestors judged people they had to live with. You are invited every single day to judge people you'll never carry the weight of having judged. That is not a small change. That is a new thing under the sun, and your ancient brain has no idea it's happening. So, what do you do with all this? You could try to stop caring. Good luck. You'd have better odds trying to stop being hungry. The need to be thought of well is not a flaw you can delete. It's stitched into the same wiring that let your ancestors live long enough to have you. But you can do something else. You can see it for what it is. The next time your name crosses a room you weren't in, you can remember that this is the oldest game there is. That the same instinct terrifying you today once kept your ancestors safe. That the whisper is not proof of your failure. It's proof that you belong to a species that survived by watching each other, warning each other, and yes, judging each other endlessly. And you can remember one more thing, the most freeing thing of all. You will never control the rumor. You never could. Not in the village, not online, not anywhere. What people say about you when you leave the room has always been out of your hands. It belonged to them before you were born, and it will belong to them after you're gone. All you have ever controlled is what's true. The behavior underneath the story, the self the gossip is trying and always failing to fully capture. So let them talk. They were always going to. Somewhere, right now, someone is still talking about you, and now you know why. It isn't cruelty. It isn't chance. It's the oldest form of love and war our species ever invented, still running, still humming in every room you've ever left. You are not a sealed box of private thoughts. You are a rumor that learned to walk, and the walking is the only part that was ever yours.